The mood around IBROX right now is a mix of excitement, tension, and a fair bit of speculation. And it all just got a new twist thanks to a very interesting moment involving Cyril Dessers. The striker, who had a strong season in Glasgow, has just given a response that might be small in words but huge in meaning, and fans are already debating whether this was a hint about his future. At a time when the Rangers support is watching every transfer move like hawks, this comment landed right when emotions are already running high. We've got a club in transition under Russell Martin, some big European nights already under the belt this season, and a transfer window that still has enough time left to shake things up. So let's unpack exactly what happened, what it could mean, and where Rangers stand right now. The Russell Martin era has been anything but dull so far. Rangers kicked off their Champions League qualifier in the best possible way, brushing aside. Czech side Victoria Plzeň by 3-0 in the first leg at IBROX. It was exactly the type of response supporters wanted after the frustration of a 1-1 draw away at Fir Park the previous weekend. That European performance wasn't just about the scoreline, it was a chance for fans to see some of the club's new signings up close. Oliver Antman showed glimpses of his pace and creativity. Nascimento Rothwell looked tidy in midfield Lyle. Cameron brought energy and grit, and JD Gassama gave a confident account of himself. On paper, the pieces are starting to fall into place, but Martin's job isn't just about adding talent, it's about finding balance. That means some players will have to make way. One of those who looks to be heading for the exit is Ridvan. Yilmaz, the Turkish left-back, arrived in Glasgow in 2022 from Besiktas for a fee in the region of £5.3 million, but his time at Rangers has never quite clicked. He's had promising spells, especially under Michael Beale's predecessor, but injuries, inconsistent form, and the sheer physicality of Scottish football have made it a struggle. At just 5'9", Yilmaz has often been targeted physically, and while that alone isn't the reason for his struggles, it hasn't helped. To make matters worse for his chances, Martin has preferred using right-footed Max Aarons at left back, and even young Jeff Day was given the nod in the recent European fixture. That effectively leaves Yilmaz third choice in his position. The sense that his time is up has been echoed by former players, with one ex-Rangers midfielder openly saying the signing was a mistake from the start and that the club should take whatever fee they can get now. That fee is unlikely to match what Rangers originally paid, which means the club will be taking a financial hit, but in Martin's mind, it's better to move on quickly rather than keep an unhappy or unused player around. All signs now point to Yilmaz returning to Besiktas before the window closes, which would close the chapter on a signing that never truly lived up to its billing. But while Yilmaz's situation looks close to being resolved, Cyril Dessers' story is heading in the opposite direction. And it's here that the fan base has started buzzing. The Nigerian international, who led the line for Rangers with a mix of goals and tireless work last season, has been linked with moves away, with interest reportedly coming from abroad. Earlier this summer, Russell Martin confirmed that Dessers was the only player to have received an official bid so far, but Rangers rejected the offer as it fell short of their valuation. That in itself showed how important the manager considers him to be. Yet in football, important doesn't always mean untouchable, and that's why every little hint matters. The hint came on Wednesday night just after that convincing win over Plzeň. Dessers was leaving IBROX, taking time to sign autographs and speak with fans when one supporter asked him directly, "Are you staying or going?" The striker smiled and replied, "Looks like I'm staying, huh? I'm here today." It was casual, almost playful. But in the current climate, those words were like lighting a match in a room full of dry paper. Fans took to social media, almost immediately dissecting whether this was a genuine admission or just an off-the-cuff remark to keep the mood light. What we do know is that Dessers himself has previously spoken warmly about Rangers, calling it a fantastic club and saying he's happy in Glasgow. He has 2 years left on his contract. And while he admits that scoring goals naturally attracts interest from other teams, he's been quick to downplay any concrete moves. When asked about rumors linking him to Olympiacos, for example, he said he hadn't heard anything specific and that speculation was just part of the job. In fact, when asked where he might like to end his career, he gave an answer that was more about dreams than immediate plans, talking about playing somewhere exotic like Japan, the United States, South Africa, or Nigeria. For Russell Martin, Désiré has been more than just a goal scorer. After the opening league draw against Motherwell, the manager singled him out for his attitude, pointing out that despite being the only player with an official bid on the table, Désiré had come on run hard and set an example for others. That professionalism combined with his knack for finding the net that makes him such a valuable asset, and why losing him this late in the window would be a serious blow. Elsewhere in the Rangers camp, another transfer story is dragging its feet, and this one involves Ben Davies. The defender was signed from Liverpool in 2022 for around £4 million and was expected to be a solid, dependable presence at the heart of the backline. But 2 years on, he's found himself on the fringes, especially after the arrivals of Max Aarons and Nascimento. With only 1 year left on his contract, the club is keen to move him on permanently rather than risk losing him for nothing next summer. Birmingham City emerged as the main suitor, and for a while it looked like the deal was almost done. A broad agreement between the clubs had been reached, and the expectation was that Davies would be heading south. But, as often happens in football, the details have become sticking points. Birmingham initially explored a loan with an option to buy, while Rangers preferred a straight permanent transfer. Then came disagreements over the fee, Rangers wanting to recoup as much of their original outlay as possible, while Birmingham's offer reportedly sat at just £700,000. Add in the fact that Davies is on a wage of £30,000 a week and is unwilling to take a cut, and you've got a transfer that's stuck in the mud. Rangers aren't interested in subsidizing his wages for another season, which means unless Birmingham or another club can meet both the fee and salary expectations, this situation could drag on until the very end of the window. In the meantime, Davies remains professional in training, but has been largely absent from matchday squads. From the club's perspective, every day this drags on is another day where planning for the season becomes that little bit harder, and that's where we stand right now. A squad being reshaped under a new manager, some players heading for the door, others sending mixed messages about their future, and the fans hanging on every word and every move. In football, especially at a club the size of Rangers, the line between certainty and speculation is thin, and right now the IBROX faithful are living in that space. All it takes is one remark outside the stadium, one unexpected change in negotiations, or than one strong European performance to shift the conversation entirely. And judging by how this summer has gone so far, there's every chance that shift could happen any day now. While the focus in recent days has naturally gravitated towards Cyril Désiré's comment and what it might mean for his immediate future, the wider picture at Rangers right now is just as compelling. This is not simply a case of one or two players deciding their next move. What is unfolding is a larger process of reshaping a squad that, in the eyes of Russell Martin and his staff, needs to be leaner, hungrier, and more adaptable if it is to compete on multiple fronts this season. The stakes are high. The Champions League qualifier win over Victoria Pleasant was a reminder of the potential within this group, but it was also a reminder of the margins at play. In Europe, one lapse in concentration can undo 90 minutes of dominance, and in the Scottish Premiership, dropped points can turn a title race into an uphill climb before winter even sets in. Martin's approach has been methodical but decisive. From the moment he walked through the doors at IBROX, it was clear he wasn't here to simply inherit what was already in place. He wanted a squad built to his own specifications, not just in terms of individual talent, but in mentality, work ethic, and versatility. The signings of Oliver Antman, Nascimento, Rothwell, Lyle Cameron, and J.D. Gassama were early indicators of that vision. Antman's ability to break lines with direct running, Rothwell's calmness under pressure, Cameron's relentless pressing, and Gassama's maturity for his age all point towards a side that can play with both intensity and intelligence. But as is always the case in football, bringing new faces, it means others must leave, and that is where the current sense of uncertainty has taken root. For fans, the departure of Ridvan Yilmaz will not come as a shock, but it still feels like a missed opportunity. His early performances show glimpses of the technical ability that made him a standout at Besiktas, yet in Scotland, those flashes never became consistent displays. Injuries interrupted his rhythm, and when fit, he sometimes looked uncomfortable against the physical demands of the league. His attacking instincts, overlapping runs, quick link-ups, and precise crosses were assets, but they weren't enough to mask the defensive vulnerabilities that opponents were quick to exploit. Now with Max Aarons trusted to fill in on the left and Jeff Day showing promise, Yilmaz has found himself without a role. The decision to cut losses and move him back to Turkey is as much about squad harmony as it is about finances. A player sitting third in the pecking order and earning a significant wage is a luxury Rangers cannot afford. The same financial reality applies to Ben Davies. His move to Rangers 2 years ago came with a certain weight of expectation, not least because of his Premier League background with Liverpool. But expectations and reality rarely run on parallel tracks in football, and Davies' time at IBROX has been a case study in that gap. Injuries played their part, as did the constant changes in defensive partnerships. But perhaps the biggest factor has been the shifting demands of the managers he's played under. Where Giovanni van Bronckhorst sought composure and ball-playing ability from his defenders, Michael Beale leaned towards pace and aggression. Now under Martin, there's an even greater emphasis on mobility and pressing high areas where Davies has sometimes looked uncomfortable. The proposed move to Birmingham City was meant to be a clean break, an opportunity for both club and player to move forward. But as the negotiations have dragged, so too has the sense of inevitability about his exit. Every stalled phone call, every renegotiated clause adds another layer of frustration. Yet amid the exits or the uncertainty, the desert situation has emerged as the thread tying the summer together. His words outside IBROX after the closing win were delivered with a smile, but smiles can hide as much as they reveal. In the current transfer climate where player movement can turn on a single phone call, no one in the Rangers support is taking his presence for granted. His work rate, his knack for scoring in big moments, and his willingness to play through pain have made him a favorite among a section of the fan base. But interest from elsewhere is always lurking. The rejected bid earlier in the summer showed that Rangers value him highly, but it also confirmed that other clubs are watching. Martin's public praise of Désiré after the Motherwell draw was as much a message to the rest of the squad as it was a compliment. This is the standard, this is the attitude I expect. When your top scorer is also the one tracking back pressing defenders and chasing lost causes, it leaves little excuse for anyone else. This, more than anything, is why Martin is so keen to finalize the squad before the season settles into its relentless rhythm. The Champions League qualifiers are one thing, but once the league domestic cups and potentially European group stage games are all in play, the demands on the squad will multiply. Depth is important, but so is cohesion. Too many players on the fringes can lead to discontent, and in a dressing room environment, discontent spreads quickly. Moving on those who have no realistic pathway to regular minutes is not just a logistical decision, it's a cultural one. Off the pitch, the atmosphere among the Rangers faithful reflects this strange in-between stage. On one hand, there's excitement about what the new signings can bring, the prospect of another crack at the Champions League proper, and a chance to wrest domestic dominance back from Celtic. On the other, there's a lingering nervousness about whether key players will stay, whether the squad will be fully settled before the window closes, and whether those who do stay can adapt quickly to Martin's methods. In Scotland, there is no long bedding in period. Every drop point becomes a talking point, every mistake magnified. For now, Désiré is still in blue, still scoring, and still talking about being happy in Glasgow. That might be enough to calm the noise for a few days, but the reality is that transfer speculation doesn't just disappear. The player himself has acknowledged that interest is normal when you score goals, and his mention of exotic destinations like Japan or the United States may have been lighthearted, but it was also a reminder that football careers are finite, and the chance to experience something different can be tempting. Whether that moment comes in 2 years when his contract ends or sooner, if the right offer lands on the table, will depend on a mix of form, finances, and timing. Martin, for his part, is playing the long game. His focus is on building a side that can play with energy and control, break quickly when the opportunity arises, and impose themselves both at home and in Europe. That means trusting players who buy into that vision completely, even if it means taking short-term hits on transfer, fees to move others on. It's why Yilmaz's exit is being fast-tracked, why the Davies situation is being pushed towards resolution, and why keeping Désiré, unless the money is truly irresistible, feels like a priority. The next few weeks will be decisive. If Rangers can progress in Europe and maintain momentum in the league, the stability will make it easier for Martin to integrate his new signings and build chemistry. If results falter, the noise around transfers and futures will only grow louder. That's the double-edged nature of football at this level. Success buys time and patience, while any stumble brings every decision under scrutiny. For the fans, the hope is that by the time the window shuts, the squad will not only be stronger on paper, but fully aligned with the demands of a season that promises to be as challenging as it is full of opportunity. And as long as moments like Desir's post-match exchange keep happening, there will always be something for the blue half of Glasgow to debate, dissect, and in true Rangers fashion, argue about well into the night. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. In what could be a stunning twist in Scottish football's summer window, there are whispers that Scott McTOMINAY is set to leave Italy behind and make a blockbuster move to Rangers. The Scotland international, who's been plying his trade in Serie A over the last season, is now allegedly eyeing a homecoming of sorts, but not to his boyhood club or a quiet return. Instead, he's rumored to be heading straight into the heart of Glasgow's footballing cauldron. The word among insiders is that IBROX officials have been quietly working on the deal for weeks, and although no formal announcement has been made, the move appears all but certain. Such a transfer would mark a significant power play by the Rangers board, signaling clear intent to challenge Celtic's dominance both domestically and in Europe. McTominay's name alone is enough to stir excitement in the stands, but bringing him to IBROX also brings weight and grit to a midfield that has sometimes lacked steel in recent seasons. Whether this is a clever tactical acquisition or a calculated psychological shot at their city rivals, one thing is certain: if the deal goes through, it will be one of the biggest talking points of the season. Speculation has been mounting in recent days, with several sources close to the player suggesting that McTominay has grown weary of life in Italy. Despite finding decent form in patches, it's believed he never fully settled into the culture or the slower tempo of the Italian game. The pull of returning to Scottish football, where he remains a fan favourite thanks to his passion for the national team, seems to have proven too strong to ignore. What's caught many off guard, however, is his decision, if true, to join Rangers rather than opt for a club with less intense rivalries or expectations. McTominay, known for his composure and professionalism, may well relish the pressure cooker environment of the old firm. But such a move would undoubtedly shake the foundations of the Celtic Rangers dynamic. Fans from both sides have taken to forums and social media in anticipation, with Celtic supporters dismissing the rumor as fanciful, while Rangers fans are cautiously ecstatic. The possible transfer also poses questions about Rangers' financial muscle and ambition. Could this be the first of several high-profile signings aimed at toppling Celtic's recent dominance? Sources in Glasgow are claiming the Rangers dressing room has already been briefed about McTominay's potential arrival, with some players reportedly buzzing at the idea of lining up alongside the Scotland midfielder. His experience in the Premier League and Serie A, combined with his fearless performances for the national team, would certainly bring both pedigree and presence to the squad. At 28, McTominay still has several peak years ahead of him, and his leadership qualities could be invaluable in guiding some of the club's younger talents. Moreover, if this deal materializes, it would add a fierce new layer to the old firm rivalry, not just because of the player's profile, but because of the message it sends. Rangers would be telling Celtic and the rest of the league that they're not content playing second fiddle anymore. They're here to reclaim supremacy. Meanwhile, Celtic, who have been relatively quiet in this transfer window, may feel compelled to respond with a statement signing of their own. The psychological game between Glasgow's giants may have just begun its next chapter, and McTominay might very well be at the center of the storm. One can't ignore the wider implications such a move might have on the Scottish Premiership as a whole. A player of McTominay's stature returning to the league could spark a domino effect, both in terms of signings and the league's global appeal. Already there's talk among pundits that his arrival could reignite international interest in Scottish football, which has often struggled to command the same attention as its English counterpart. Broadcast deals, sponsorships, even attendance figures could receive a welcome boost if a figure like McTOMINAY is indeed pulling on a blue shirt come the start of the season. Beyond the commercial side, there's also a tactical consideration. Under new management, Rangers have been restructuring their squad and shifting to a more aggressive, high-pressing system. McTOMINAY, with his work rate and tactical intelligence, fits that model perfectly. His ability to transition quickly, break up play, and surge forward could prove crucial in domestic battles and European nights alike. The deal, still officially under wraps, might not just be about footballing skill, it's about sending shockwaves. And if Rangers pull this off, the tremors will be felt from Glasgow to Milan. Still, caution remains. Until pen meets paper, everything exists in the realm of possibility. Scottish football is no stranger to bold rumors that ultimately fade into memory, and this could yet be another example of summer fever running wild. Yet there's something about the way this story has lingered. The quiet nods from sources, the unusual silence from McTominay's camp, the subtle smiles from IBROX staff, that makes it hard to dismiss outright. Even seasoned insiders are admitting there's more to this than smoke. As the days tick down toward the close of the window, eyes across the Scottish game, and indeed in Italy and England, will be watching closely. Could Scott McTominay, once the midfield engine of Manchester United and now a staple of Scotland's starting 11, truly be about to trade Serie A sophistication for old firm ferocity? The rumor mill will keep spinning, but if this comes to pass, the 2025-26 season might just go down as one of the most memorable in Scottish football's modern history. And at the center of it, wearing royal blue, could be Scott McTominay, the man who dared to cross the divide and reignite a nation's fiercest fire. Greetings, fans! Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.